Hello, welcome back to IT Landy. This course will be focusing on GCP Security Best Practices Q&A. We will start with some questions and we will answer the questions based on practical field and knowledge around GCP. This can be a path if you are interested into taking some security exams for GCP. Without further ado, let's we start with these questions. You are the security admin in your company and you would like to sync all the security groups that have an email address from your LDAP to your cloud IAM. What should you do? Configure Google Cloud sync to sync security group using LDAP rules that have user email as an attribute in one-way sync, or configure cloud directory sync to sync security groups using LDAP search rule. Option number 3 or C, using a management tool to sync the subset based on the email address attribute, creating a group in the domain and a group created in Google Cloud domain. And option number 4, using a management tool to sync the subset based group object. Now, they all seems like uh, quite similar. However, the right option will be using a management tool to sync the subset based on email address attribute, which means we're going to create a group in the Google domain and a group which will be created automatically get synced, and it is explicit in the Google Cloud Identity. So we use the management tool to sync the subset based group with attribute. Next, you are an admin. Your company runs a website that will store PII information on the GCP to comply with data privacy regulation. This data can only be stored in specific amount of time and then need to be deleted after a period of time. Data that has not been reached the time period should not be deleted. What should you do in order to automate the process for complying with this regulation? A. Store the data in a single persistent disk and delete the disk after the time expires. Store the data in a single BigQuery table and set the appropriate table expiration time. Store data in single cloud storage bucket and configure the bucket time to live, and then store the data in single big table and set expiration time on the column families. So the answer will be B. Store the data in single BigQuery table and set the appropriate table expiration time. Next question. Your team needs to configure their Google Cloud environment so they can centralize the control over network resource like firewall, virtual appliances, subnets, routers. They also have an on-premise environment where resources need access back to GCP through VPN. The networking resource will need to be controlled by the network security team. Which type of networking design should your team use to meet these requirements? A shared VPC network with the host project and service project? Sounds interesting. Grant compute admin role to network team for each engineering project. Too much overhead. VPC pairing between the all engineering project using hub and spoke module. Sounds interesting, but costly. Cloud VPN gateway between all the engineering projects using hub and spoke module. Again, this sounds okay, but it's too complicated to manage the VPN gateway between the engineering. So Best answer will be a shared VPC network with a project path and service project, and that will basically minimize even the cost. So we share VPC network with host project and service project. Next, a company migrated their entire data center to Google Cloud. It is running thousands of instances across multiple projects managed by different departments. You want to have historical record of what was running in Google Cloud platform at any point in time. What should you do? Use Resource Manager on the organization level. Use Forcity Security to automate inventory snapshot, or Stack Drive to create dashboard across all the project, or using Security Command Center. Now, A and C very interesting, but I will lean toward using Stack Drive to create dashboard across all the project. Answer is using Stack Drive to create dashboard across all the project. Next, another scenario. A company allows every employee to use Google Cloud. Each department has a Google group with all the department members as a group. If a department member creates a new project, all the members of that department should automatically have read only to the new resource. Members of any of the other departments should not have access to the project. What should you do to configure this behavior? A. Creating a folder per department under the org, and for each department folder assign project viewer role. That doesn't sound right. Create a folder per department under the org. For each department folder, assign project browser to the group. Yeah, little bit doesn't sound right. And create a project per department under the org. For each department project, assign the project viewer role to the Google group related to that department. Sounds correct. And create a project per department. For each department project, assign project browser role to the Google group related to that department. So the answer is C. Create a project per department under the org. For each department's project, assign the project viewer role, which is related to that department. So that will allow only that department to view it. Next, your team needs to prevent users from creating projects in the org. Only the DevOps team should be able to create on behalf of the requester. Which two tasks you should select in order to achieve or handle this request? Remove all the users from the project, or create an org policy constraint and apply it to the org level. Sounds right. Grant the project editor role to the org level to the designated group of users. Doesn't sound right to me. Add a designated group of users to the project creator role at the organ level. That one is correct. Grant billing account, nothing to do with this. So the answer will be B and D. Answer is B and D. Creating an org policy and add a designated group of users to the project creator at the org level. Next, you are responsible for implementing a payment processing environment that will use KA to Kubernetes and need to apply proper security control. What should you do? Implement enforce two-factor authentication, activate firewall, establish minimum password, require file integrity monitoring, and antivirus scanning for pod and node. The answer is D, because we're talking about Kubernetes, pod and node, plus scanning to make sure the integrity from source to target. The last questions for this part is you are creating an internal app engine application that need to access users on Google Drive on the user's behalf. Your company does not want to rely on current user credentials. It's also want to follow Best practice from GCP. What should you do? Create a new service account and give application users the role for service account. Create a new service account and add all the application to the group. Give the group role service account. Use dedicated G Suite admin account and create new service account and grant G Suite domain delegation. The answer basically is A. Create a new service account and give all the application users the role of service account users. Okay, right. That was all the questions we had for part one of GCP security and control based practices. Thank you for watching, and we shall continue on part two.